Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here we are seeing the description given by Kapila Muni to his mother Devahuti about the form of the Lord in the heart, the form of the super soul, because we have seen how there are many yogis who meditate upon void or something impersonal or some light effulgence, but no, that is not the way. The authorized way, as given by Lord Kapila, is to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, His specific form, the details of which are mentioned in these few verses. So one among them we'll be seeing now. Even in the previous verses also we saw a lot of description. Continuing with that, Matta Dvirefa Kalaya. Dvirefa means bees, honeybees. And these honeybees are intoxicated, maddened because of the uncommon fragrance. Where is this fragrance coming from? Paritam Vanamalaya. Vanamalaya. The Lord, He is being garlanded with fresh flowers. And a lot of things are explained about the freshness in the purport. We'll be seeing that. So, Paritam Vanamalaya. The bees are attracted to the fragrance of the flower garland of the Lord and they are intoxicated. Parardhya Hara Valaya. Parardhya, that means the ornaments adorning the body of the Lord are priceless. Parardhya means priceless. That means it cannot be valued by whichever currency, and through currency notes. It is priceless. So what are the ornaments the Lord is wearing? Hara Valaya. Hara referring to a pearl necklace. The Lord is wearing one pearl necklace. And Valaya, bracelets. Kirita, a crown on his head. Angada, there are armlets. And Nupuram, anklets. The ornament wore on the lotus feet, anklets. So this beautiful garland he is having with fresh flowers, and bees, intoxicated bees are surrounding them. He is having one invaluable pearl necklace, bracelets, armlets and anklets, and a crown on top of his head. Through all of these things, he is looking very attractive. Very attractive. So here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada explains about the freshness in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, everything is always fresh. There is nothing which is something stale, which is something outdated, which is something it has become faded and unusable. No, nothing like that. The example given is just like a flower. The flower, when it is there in the tree, it is fresh, it has got nice fragrance, and bees are attracted towards it. When the same flower is plucked and made into a garland to be offered to the Lord, the flower still remains fresh. The bees which were attracted to the same flower on the tree, now after plucking that flower from the tree also, still the bees are attracted towards those flowers. And it doesn't become faded. Just like if we wear some flower garland, the garland what we see in the material world, so it will remain fresh for some time. Depends again on the flowers. We have seen some flowers, within just some half an hour, 1 hour, it becomes faded away. The fragrance will go away. There may be few flowers, maybe 1 day, 2 days, it will retain its freshness. But is there any flower which eternally is fresh in this material world? No, we don't see such flowers. It will get faded away. It will lose its fragrance. It will lose its look. It will become stale. But in the spiritual world, the flower is also a spirit. The tree is also a spirit. Even after removing the flowers from the trees, still they continue to retain its spiritual freshness. The example Srila Prabhupada using mathematics, he says, in the material world, in mathematics classes what we have heard, addition, subtraction, if we say 1 plus 1 equals, so what is the answer? We say it is how much? 2 in the material world. If we say 1 minus 1, we say the answer is 0. But in the spiritual world, this is not the calculation, this is not the mathematics which works in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, 1 plus 1 equals 1, and 1 minus 1 also equals 1. So this is again very nicely explained in the introduction, invocation to the Ishopanishad. The first verse we see there, Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. So that's a different kind of mathematics calculation which goes on. When something is taken away, what is the portion which is taken away also remains full. The portion which remains, that is also full, and again when it is added back, still it remains full. So it's a different kind of existence which is there in the spiritual world. It is Satchit Ananda. It is eternal, full of knowledge and full of happiness. On the contrary, in the material world we see it is Asat, Achit and Nirananda. It is temporary. Whatever freshness, whatever anything good we see in this material world, it is temporary. It doesn't remain in the same state eternally. And it is a lump of ignorance, and everything becomes a source of misery to the living entity. So there's a wide gulf of difference between things what we see in the material world and in the spiritual world. Then, let us see now, say, few quotes describing how the Supreme Lord, He is ever fresh. Why? Because the Lord is ever fresh, everything connected with Him also becomes ever fresh. In the 64 qualities which is described, we can find that in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. There, one of the quality mentioned is that Krishna is ever fresh. I'll read that portion from Nectar of Devotion. Krishna is always remembered, and His name is always chanted by millions of devotees, but the devotees never become saturated. Instead of becoming disinterested in thinking of Krishna and in chanting His holy name, the devotees get newer and newer impetus to continue the process. So this practically we have seen devotees daily chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Still they are not becoming something hackneyed. No, it is still ever fresh. Every day devotees chant the holy names of the Lord. It is ever fresh. Prabhupada gives the example of how in the railway station the hawkers, the tea seller, he'll be shouting daily, chai, 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 whatever, continuously. That is not the same of chanting Hare Krishna mantra. This Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is Krishna Himself. So when we chant His holy names, we personally associate with the Lord who is ever fresh. Then, therefore Krishna is ever fresh. Not only Krishna Himself, but also Krishna's knowledge is ever fresh. Bhagavad Gita, which was imparted 5,000 years ago, is still being read repeatedly by many, many men, and still new light is always being found in it. Therefore, Krishna and His name, fame, qualities, and everything in relationship with Him is ever fresh. So the knowledge Bhagavad Gita, which was given 5,000 years ago, not just 5,000 years ago, millions of years ago, to Sun God, to Vivaswan, the same knowledge even today, if a newcomer, he comes and starts reading it, still he finds newer and things in it. And even a devotee who repeatedly reads it, still he finds newer and newer things in it. So this is a standard of Krishna and anything related to Krishna. One more example is given here to explain how Krishna is ever fresh. Actually, just like every day we are hearing about the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is he has appeared, he is Krishna Himself, who has come in the mood of Srimati Radharani. The purpose is, Krishna explains this very beautifully. This is also explained by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna, he just like the one pastime which took place in Dwaraka. In a mirror, Krishna sees himself in his reflection, and he himself becomes astonished. Such a beautiful person. Krishna, he is seeing himself in his reflection and is wonderstruck. So beautiful. And he wanted to see more and more and more. He was not satisfied. And then he thought, so in this way I may not be satisfied fully. I have to take up the mentality of Radharani. Only then I will be able to satisfy myself, to see, to relish the form, the qualities and everything related to himself. So that is why he came in the mood of Srimati Radharani to relish everything connected with Krishna. So that's very beautifully explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So like this, many examples are given in the Nectar of Devotion to show how Krishna is ever fresh. So likewise we find in the Brahma Samhita also Lord Brahma praying, Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayauvanam Cha. So Krishna is the oldest personality, Purana Purusham. He is the Adya, he is the origin of everything. Anadi, he doesn't have any other origin. Still, he is Navayauvanam Cha. He is fresh youth. Prabhupada says how when Krishna was there in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he had many grandsons and great-grandsons. His age had crossed like maybe 80, 90 years old, but still Krishna was looking just like a young man of just some 20 years old. So this is Krishna. One more quote I'll read from the Bhagavatam, spoken by Vidura. Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai. Yeah. Speaking about things connected with Krishna or the instructions of Krishna, it is said there, they are ever fresh to the learned scholars and devotees, and even by daily repetition of the verses of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, there is no satiation for devotees like Vidura. Devotees like Vidura, again and again, if they hear about Krishna, they will not be satisfied. They want to hear more and more and more. It may be the same pastime, same instruction, repeatedly after hearing, still they want to hear more. So that's what Prabhupada explains here. The case is similar with all other mundane literatures. The beauty of transcendental literatures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is that they never become old. They have never been read in the world by civilized man for the last 5,000 years, and they have never become old. They are ever fresh to the learned scholars and the devotees, and even by daily repetition of the verses of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, there is no satiation for devotees like Vidura. Vidura might have heard the pastimes of the Lord many times before he met Maitreya, but still he wanted the same narrations to be repeated because he was never satiated by hearing them. That is the transcendental nature of the Lord's glorious pastimes. So Vidura, when he went and inquired from Maitreya to hear about the message of the Lord, pastimes of the Lord, it's not that Vidura did not know about it. Vidura had sufficiently heard about the Lord's pastimes. Still, He wanted to hear it again and again and again. So this is the standard. Just like, one example let me give you. The things what we see in the material world, how we want something new, we have, just like it happens usually in the case of mobile phones what we are having. At least maybe all devotees also would have had this experience. From past 10 years, 15 years we have been seeing how newer and newer models, newer and newer versions are coming up, and continuously the same whatever phone which like say we have today, maybe after a few months or few years, we tend to give it up and take a new one, because the today whatever we are having, that was not there maybe 5 years back, 10 years back. At that point of time maybe some simple set was there, and with that itself we were satisfied. And later newer version, again newer thing, we keep wanting, only then we'll be satisfied. The same thing now will not be satisfied. Maybe one more example, maybe I would have told you this earlier. Next to my house in Bangalore where I was staying, there was one, like we had a building built and our house was built, and adjacent to that one big hall, maybe 50% of this size, one big hall was built, and it was made available for rent purpose. So one garments, factory, they came and approached my father, and it was given on rent. And okay, we were all just looking at what's happening there, and they came with all their big vehicles and lot of garments, lot of clothes, and they were actually stitching and selling jeans pants. So 15-20 years ago, at that point of time I was young, and we were all looking what's happening there. And actually all those clothes were being brought, stacked inside that whatever that godown, and some young boys, they were engaged there, they were also staying there, some 4 or 5 boys, and we were all eager to see, oh, they are staying full day there, what are they doing? We were looking from the window to watch there, and for our surprise, they were like the trousers, it was being stitched, and what these few boys were doing is they were taking some foam, some chemicals, putting on top of the trousers at different portions and scratching them. And we were wonderstruck at what are they doing? Such nice trousers, nice pant, and they are scratching and removing the color at different, some patches they are forming there. We couldn't understand at all. And especially I still remember my mother, my aunts and other ladies, they were all commenting and passing jokes, and it was a comedy scene for us. Nice whatever clothing is there, trousers are there, pants are there, and these people, they are whatever scratching and creating some patches there. So of course later we could understand there are new trend, new fashion. So this is how maybe during, at one point of time, there were these bell-bottom pants, old movies if we see some heroes wearing that, and then some jeans pants, and after that with all that some patches at different portions, and also it is being cut also at different places. So this is how in this material world we see something in the name of fashion, something to look attractive, different things we keep trying out. The same thing, it doesn't catch our attention. We'll be no longer interested if the same thing is offered continuously to us. So through this, let us understand this is how material world is. If at all we try to look for some varieties here, some varieties of enjoyment, some varieties of whatever things, so that for the satisfaction of my senses, never we will be satisfied. Never. One more extreme is the communists, just like in today's conversation. That's why I kept it to read it again. The communists, what do? They say, we provide everything to the citizens. And Srila Prabhupada gives his own personal example of how when he went to Russia, there he wanted some milk, he wanted some rice to cook and eat. But even these minimum things are not available there. For milk, one of the disciples, the Shamsundar Das, he had to stand for hours together to get just half a liter of milk, and practically rice was not available. Some Madrasi gentleman was there in Russia, so he had brought and given some rice for Prabhupada to cook. And what was available for people to eat? It was only beef and meat. And they say, oh, we are providing everything for the people and they should be satisfied. What satisfaction is that? Satisfaction means what I want, what I like. It should be given, only then I will be satisfied. But here, these communist leaders are telling, this is the food what you are supposed to eat. This is the dress what you are supposed to wear. This is the vehicle what you are supposed to drive or ride upon. All these things are imposed upon them. Where is the satisfaction? This is not real satisfaction. See, but the living entity, the spirit soul, wants satisfaction. We all want that satisfaction, happiness that can be supplied only by Krishna. Nothing in the material world can satisfy the living entity. It is only Krishna who is seated as Paramatma in the heart. He can satisfy us. Nothing of this material, because everything is prone to be becomes stale, it fades away and it is temporary. If at all we want real happiness, eternal happiness, it can be possible only when we connect back with Krishna. Why? Because Krishna is ever fresh and everything connected with Krishna is ever fresh. So with this let us conclude. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki,